God. I'm sorry if you hear the PlayStation 2. We're just afraid to turn it off right now at the moment. Because, yeah. We're in the middle of playing a game. So, welcome to... So, I'm going to cut that out. Ready?
Yeah.
Welcome to our gaming channel and our first show on this gaming channel. What's the gaming channel named again?
Welcome to Retro Smash Gaming.
Yes. This is our first video and our first series where we're going to be talking about game systems.
Yeah.
And not just game systems.
Game systems by generation.
Now, we happen to have the 5th generation here, if I'm correct on the 5th generation of game systems, which is the Nintendo 64. Put it up to the camera. PlayStation 1. Sega Saturn, and that's it. That's the ones that dominated the year at least.
Yep.
I believe there might have been one more, like a Sega, like a Jaguar or something.
The 3DO came out.
Yeah, the 3DO and okay, thank you. The 3DO and I believe the Atari Jaguar.
I know, but these were the main three that dominated the era.
Because the 3DO was majorly expensive, and we will talk about it. Do we have the system? Not yet. I bet you $20 we'll get one eventually somewhere down the line. But a 3DO goes for $99, and I do not feel like giving $99 for a system that I probably won't play for a while.
Right.
So we're going to talk about the main ones that dominated, and that was probably in your house at the time. One you probably didn't own a 3DO, and I don't think no, the Neo Geo was later.
Yeah.
Yeah, way later. So, are we going to be talking about both consoles? Now, I'm going to do this later on. The question that I was talking about is, we're going to do this again later, but for the Japanese system, except this one. It's going to still be American because I can modify it.
Right.
You didn't see my wink, did you? Oh. So, let's get into the systems. We're going to change angles because this is going to be weird. First impression time! Hey guys, welcome to the first impressions of the consoles.
Now, first impression. As far as the Nintendo 64 goes, it's a little more sleek, but it's got some kind of weird stuff going on, like the weird little bumpers framing it, but it's pretty sleek. Also, it's unusual because it's the only cartridge-based system still going on in the 5th generation.
I know, right? It kind of catches my eye versus all the rest of the systems that are out there, because most of them did take, CD.
Yeah. Also, I just noticed that the N64, the little N cubed thing, and then the PlayStation logo are the same colors.
Odd.
Yeah, they're both green, red, blue, and yellow.
That might be due to rumor has it that Sony was meant to be making a disc system for Nintendo. So maybe that might be the reason why.
Ah.
Because Nintendo has had that, for the Super Nintendo at least, or the Super Famicom, the colors are green, red, yellow, and blue.
Oh, okay.
Which are all there.
Right.
So it might just be that.
Also, also for the N64, it's the only one capable of playing a 4-player.
That might be because it came in late in the game, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. As for the PlayStation...
Also, may I also bring up something else? I'm sorry.
Please do.
Because this is something else that also comes to me. It seems like the Sony PlayStation needs a memory card. The Nintendo 64 does not.
Right. Sega
Saturn, I don't know.
Yeah.
Does it?
I think it's capable of internal memory, but I'm not sure.
We'll find out later.
Yeah. Anyway, as for the PlayStation is, well, it's the only thing different about it is it's a lighter gray, but the buttons are much bigger.
Massive.
Which actually could make them a big target for if you're trying to go past
also,
them.
Going back to the Nintendo 64, did you mention that there's actually a slider instead of a button system for the thing?
Right.
There's a slider to turn it on and then a slider to turn it off.
Right, which then takes a little effort for mishaps. As for the,
go back to PlayStation. I'm sorry.
Also, PlayStation has a disc drive. It's a very wide disc drive, so you can put in the discs. And its opening time, it's pretty good.
But nothing compared to the Saturn, which is faster.
Saturn is lightning fast, but it's really bulky on first impression. It's quite big. It seems unnecessarily heavy. But oddly enough, the buttons are ridiculously small, as does the disc drive up here.
Now, I don't really mind when it comes to that, especially when it comes to the smaller, buttons, because once again, less chance of mishaps. If you're like me that had a sibling, they loved to turn your console off in mid-game.
Right. So, does that about wrap up first impressions?
Nope, we gotta go to first impressions of controllers as well.
Alrighty then.
Now, the first impressions change after we play the console for a little bit.
True.
So, yes, we already did play these consoles, but we haven't played them as long as we wanted to.
Right.
So, we'll play them as long as we want to later, and then we'll talk about, we'll give first impressions also on the discs, or games. I can't say discs in this case.
Right.
Disc and cartridge, I guess?
Games.
Games. Alright, let's go to the controllers! Now, on to the controller portion of this, which, well, I can't really say there's much first impressions, except for, well, there's a black sheep here. Nintendo, why do you always have to be different? Let's start with Nintendo, since how different it actually is.
Nintendo is an unusual little controller. It's actually much larger it's much larger than the other controllers, especially for such a small system. The cord has a really good amount of reach, but which is roughly gives you about 3-4 feet of leeway. It's capable of keeping a memory card in it, isn't it?
Yep, in the back.
And it's got more buttons than most of the other ones.
About 10 buttons, including the start.
Yeah, it's got start, A/B pads, 4 directional, the 4 directional, or the C, the bumpers, and a trigger in the back. It's got 10 buttons. Then the D-pad and the control stick. The control stick is just always seems like it would be really awkward to reach and play with.
Not really. It actually, you hold it like this. So. This is more uncomfortable to me. But that's just me. Well, actually, you used Kirby with this game, so.
Anyway.
But, you're shadowing it. I really have to say that I do enjoy this controller. It's just that, looked odd at first. But, you know, not that bad.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that catches my eye is also the control port is rounder. The other ones are more square and flat, but this one is pretty small and round almost.
And it goes in easily.
Yep.
I mean, I have to add that, because sometimes
you have a hard time plugging things in.
Sometimes with some controllers, because some controllers you gotta go like, you know?
Yeah.
Next one's on the PS2. I'm gonna need your help with the hands here.
Right.
This is a PS2. Wow, thank you. PlayStation.
For the PlayStation controllers, they're rather small. They're very
well, kind of.
They fit pretty comfortably in your hands. It's got quite a few buttons. It's got four trigger, well, 4 bumpers and 4 buttons.
LB, RB.
And then the start, so it's got about the same.
Start select.
So it's actually got about 10 buttons.
But instead of that, instead like the N64, this one has, you can move that one out for a while. This one has triangle, square, I said triangle. Triangle, square, X, and circle. Instead of actual, you know.
A, B, or letters, or use letters.
Oh, yeah, letters or numbers.
Yeah.
Some have numbers.
Some do.
But the difference is, which we can show your controller now, this is the first one that came with most PlayStations. The controller we're about to show you is the one that we got later on, which is pretty much the PS2 controller. Never changed until...
Yeah.
Never, really. It's still the same to this day.
It has double analog sticks, which you can turn on with the little button in the middle.
Or if you're playing it with the PS2, it automatically goes on, or some games it just automatically goes on, like Crash Warped.
Right. These games are also interesting. Their cords are about the same length as Nintendo, it seems, and then
sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. It varies.
But the control parts are really like the little plug-in parts. They're actually they're very wide.
Very easy to get in. But also, did I mention that this has a rumble feature without having to put a pack in? You had to put a rumble pack in here. That one doesn't. Now, the ports, as you said, look more flat, and they kind of are. And when I mean kind of, I mean they are.
Yeah.
They're pretty easy to get in, because, you know, they're easy. So next, go on to the next system, which Olivia is going to hold or hand to me. This.
The Sega Saturn controller.
It's the Sega Saturn. Thank you. Yes.
Sorry. I said that. But it's very small. It has 2 bumper pads.
Which don't look like bumpers, but they are.
6 buttons labeled A, B, C, and X, Y, and Z. And then a start button, which is The X, Y, and Z choice is a little unusual, and it's the first one to have 6 buttons all in like a little row like that. I mean, unless you count the Nintendo, which technically has it that way too.
Kind of.
In a way.
Also, this one kind of this controller feels a little lazy, but smart at the same time, because all it is a Sega Genesis controller with more buttons.
Yep, it's small, and the thing is it's not quite as comfortable as the other one.
Oh no, it's pretty comfortable actually.
Once you get used to it, I guess.
You haven't played a game yet. Play Tomb Raider, it gets comfortable.
Alright. So?
Well, I feel like it's comfortable, but the thing is that you have to do this, so at least if a Street Fighter game comes out, you can use these like
Yeah, you can use them pretty well.
Yeah, so yeah, I also think that out of all the controllers that are the best looking, I'd have to go with PlayStation.
Yeah.
Well, because it doesn't look like... I can see how this one would deter you from... I'm sorry. This one would just make you not want to do gaming that much because it looks very complicated.
It looks complicated and kind of clunky.
Yeah.
As well as you kind of wonder, how am I going to hold on to that thing?
This one just feels uncomfortable at first until you play the games, but this one fits right in your hands. So.
Yeah. It's also very light.
Kinda.
Well, except for when you add the analogs.
Alright, so we're gonna go on to discs and games. I'm done. Games.
Alright, so on to games. The Nintendo 64 still used cartridges. Well, they weren't so bad because they were a little bit smaller and a little bit they were a little bit thicker though, and they were still sleek looking. But overall, they were pretty much just normal cartridges. They still ran on pin connectors, and so you still had to do the blowing trick. Thank you.
Asthmatic's worst nightmare.
Yeah. But on the bright side, they had better cover art than their old counterparts.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Anyway, then but they went into the game pretty well, although apparently they could be pretty easily disturbed.
For instance, if I did this during gameplay.
It was gone.
Or, better yet, even just this.
If you so much as tapped it, it was pretty finicky.
Yeah. Rumor has it, if you even blew on it, the whole game would be over.
We have to test that.
We'll probably do that later in the cartridge testing or game testing. God, you knew people in your games. Back in my day, we had cartridges. Next up is the PlayStation this is the first PlayStation. We'll pick up that later. This, you are stepping.
I know.
Okay. But this right here is the PlayStation's games with the box art that is pretty amazing. But it's, I believe, a jewel case kind of a game.
Mm-hmm.
Very small. And, very compact, I guess?
Yeah, it's very compact. You could keep it with CDs or in a CD case if you really wanted to.
Now, I have a gripe with these. Most of these cases have messed up things in them. For instance, come out very easily. Due to these thingies right here, stay there. Due to these thingies right here, that's why you have terrible balance. Off camera, everybody. Due to these thingies right here, they usually get loose or pushed in. Most of the games did come with instruction manuals in this side, which I'm going to pull out. And that's what this was. It wasn't just box art, it was actually an instruction manual. Which we no longer use in this modern day and age.
Also, not to mention, jewel casings, although they're pretty good because they're convenient for storage, they can be easily destroyed.
And they are also very expensive on some games.
Yeah.
Now, also, Mary mentioned the disc's back is dark blue and sometimes black.
Which is very unusual, because usually they're just a silver color.
Now, we're going to talk about the hardware later, so... Now, this isn't the only kind of case that the games came in. Sometimes if the games are super long, we got...
a 2-disc installment. This is a Metal Gear Solid collection where you got 2 discs. Part 1.
I wouldn't even say collection, just Metal Gear Solid the game.
It's true, sorry. Where it's Part 1 and Part 2.
Oh! There it is. Once again, terrible jewel casing.
Basically, it was just a 2-parter, so...
Now, I heard some games, like Final Fantasy, had 4 parts, but that might have been the Japanese game, not the English. But a lot of games, some games did have 2 parts. I don't know how many did, but they did.
There were some.
Now, you had to stop in mid-game, put the second disc in, and blah, blah, blah. So let's talk about how the disc goes in the system. Which is kind of obvious, but still.
This trend also continued into the GameCube era, but...
it
did.
Only for the GameCube.
Yeah. But anyway, so basically it just popped right in there. It's pretty easy.
Teamwork! High five. Oh, let's do that again, but on camera. There we go. Yeah. The next one, which Olivia is going to do, we're going to show you the box, and this one does not come with an instruction manual, which I'm very sad. This box right here, it irks me. Irks me to the point of irks me. I just...
Yeah. Basically, they gave it a very large... Sega had a very large, clunky, clear plastic box. Much more like a as if a jewel casing and a VHS tape had a baby.
It's very unnecessary since you can see the disc right here.
Yeah. Disc, it's like... Also, I can't figure out how to open them for the life of me. Thank you.
Oh, crap.
What is it?
Oh, no, that's fine. Never mind.
So, much like jewel casings, it has similar weaknesses. As for... Sorry.
Continue.
As for the disc itself...
You're causing a shadow.
Sorry. Discs are pretty... Also, like... The discs are seem to be pretty durable as they're still around. But that could be to the Sega and Saturn's decreased popularity. Anyway.
I'm in the camera.
Yep. Also, they also had the silver backing, much like it's like normal CDs or discs at the time. And well, like the PlayStation, you have to use that button, not the restart button, and then you just pop it in.
Now, well, this is our final look at the system, so
yeah,
we had a camera problem. So if we cut something off, we're sorry. I will put it in the description what we said if we missed anything.
Okay.
So.
Is this the final first impressions, or is this...
This is the last impressions before we start playing the systems completely. Now, here's the rules. We have to at least beat one game for the system. One game has to be beaten before we can talk about the system in general. Now, the first system we're going to talk about is the Sega Saturn due to it coming out. I believe it came out first.
It was the first. It came out in 1994.
So the Sega Saturn... It's going to be the first system we talk about. Next is PlayStation, then the Nintendo 64.
Right.
I believe that's how it works.
Yes.
Now, let me talk about the system in our final look at it, because everyone's going to get a last impression, and then the wrap-up.
Right.
That's what I'm going to call it for now. Sega Saturn, right here. Well, how about we do this in a different camera angle?
Okay.
Let's do that.
Hello.
Hi. So this is going to be our first system that we review, as we said before.
Yep. We're gonna be reviewing this one hopefully within the next couple of weeks.
Actually, we're gonna say 3 weeks. It's probably not. It's not gonna come out in 3 weeks. It's gonna come out hopefully before that, and we're gonna hopefully do this. Give us 2 weeks, then we're gonna review it, and then we're gonna take a break because around that time it'll be
Our
the holiday
season.
So we'd like to take a break, but actually, you know what we should do?
What?
We should review at least. You know what we should do? We should do it out of order. Just Nintendo 64 for the holiday season.
Okay, we can try.
It's not gonna be that hard.
I know, but we gotta...
See, I already beaten the game on that, so it's only fair.
Aha.
Yeah, you see, I said I at least have to beat one game. It didn't say that I didn't have to beat the game before.
You are sneaky, sir. I applaud you.
Hey, when I make my own rules, I can do it. So I think the Nintendo 64 should be next because, come on, everybody knows about the Christmas season and the Nintendo 64. Kids were excited about that system, but we'll talk about that later. And then the PlayStation 1 will be talked about later. Like, I'm going to talk about it, briefly talk about the Nintendo 64. It's not going to be the review, but it's going to be a brief talk.
Okay.
But this system is definitely next because it's the first one.
Yeah.
And it's also our newest system thus far. So it's going to take us a little bit longer to do this. Also, thank you, Winston. Also, the game we're going to review and beat for Sony, I'm just going to have to tell you is Crash, because,
Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love you, Caddy.
Anyway.
So, if you don't know who that is, check out this Catechris channel. Plugging. But yeah, I think that this system... I've been neglecting this for a while. The button for restart isn't called restart.
Oh, yeah, it's called access. Yeah.
Access what? Access the restart button? No, I know you're like, that's a little harsh, but let's be real here. My dog needs to be scratched. But let's be real here. Why would it be access? You're going to confuse a whole bunch of kids.
Yeah. You would think that would be like something that would take you to a menu where you could get something fixed.
Yeah, so Next time you see us, next time you see us on this channel, we will be reviewing this console right here.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you very much. Oh, and let me talk about one more thing. You guys at the end get to choose which system you guys think was the best of the era. That's probably why we're not going to review Xbox 360, Wii, and PS3 anytime soon.
Right.
That's going to be impossible, and I don't feel like, tallying up that vote. I don't.
I know, I don't either. So, until next time, guys. See you around.
Bye!